You're live.
Okay. Today's Tzadik Hey, and we're starting from the top. Meisvei. So, yesterday we discussed the shape of the Lechem Aponim. It was either flat, like a box, two sides up, two sides were open, or it was shaped like a boat, where it came to a point on the bottom. So the Gemara is a kasha, Meisvei, Kimin Kaveris Hoyla Batano. Kaveris could either mean a honeycomb, a beehive, or a basket. So let's assume it's a basket that has holes on it. The oven had like a basket on the bottom. V'doime kimin tabla merubas. So,
like you had yesterday.
It had not really the bottom of the oven had a form where you put the bread in, and it had small holes in it so that the heat could be evenly distributed to the bread. But it says mafurish it was square. Doesn't seem that the form had any shape of a boat. Says the Gemara, it's referring to the opening of the oven. In order to remove the bread without any issues, it was square. But you could still explain that the form inside the oven had a shape of a boat. Just it doesn't make sense to have the opening of the oven the shape of a boat, because it'd be very hard to remove the bread. So therefore, the opening was square. We have a raya like Rabbi Yochanan that the shape of the bread was the shape of a boat. The Sanya arba snifim shel zav hoyu sham mifutzalim merashem. We had yesterday the snifim were the holes on the side of the shulchan that held the bread inwards, the side support of the bread. So it says that there was 4 of these snifim, mifutzalim merashem, and on their top they were split. Kimindu kronimayu. They had like other pieces coming out of it. Just soimchim bahem salechem. Through these pieces, they were able to support the breads. Shudoime, but here's the kicker. It says Shudoime kimin sfina rekedes. It says mafurish that the shape was that of a boat, which is a tremendous raya to Rabbi Yochanan. I mentioned yesterday that although it seems that we had a few good rayas like Rabbi Yochanan, the Rambam still says the halacha is like Rabbi Chanina that the bread was flat. Okay, says the Gemara Boilu. We're going into a whole nother sugya now. Lechem aponim nifsal b'masois or eno nifsal b'masois. So in the midbar, every time HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Klal Yisrael to move and go to another place, they had a fold shop, that fold up the mishkan, fold up the oil mayid, and move. So now you had the lechem aponim in the shulchan, and they would roll up the klaim, that which enclosed the oil mayid. So once you roll down the klaim, now it becomes open. It's no different than any other part of the desert. The bread on the shulchan, does it become possible or not? Do we view it as if it came outside of the oil mayid? Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Chad omer nifsal v'chad omer eini nifsal. Man omer nifsal. Why would I say it's possible? The chsiv kasher yachnu ken yisov. Ma b'chanu yosoi nifsal b'yotzei. Just like when it's stationary, you cannot remove the bread from the oil mayid. Av b'nesiyosoi nifsal b'yotzei. So too, when it's moving, the mishkan, the oil mayid is moving, so there is a psul of yotzei.
How can it be a psul though?
Anytime you go out of...
They were meant to move it.
Right.
That's part of what they had to
Exactly.
do.
But now the bread is no longer in a Kaddish place, and therefore the bread is no good. It's not that they did a Isser, but the bread is no longer Kaddish. Now, just if you see in Rashi just brings the pasuk that when they moved the shulchan, they used to put yifrsu beget chelis. They put a nice blue cloth over it, and they moved it. Fine, says the Gemara. Man da Omar eini nifsal. Now, what's the svara to say that there's no psul by moving the shulchan? The chsiv lechem atomid olavia. It's really a really strong pasuk. The pasuk says that as you move the oil mayed and you're traveling, the bread should be on it constantly. And the Torah calls it v'lechem atomid olavia. It's considered lechem, and it should always be on the table. V'idach nami. Okay, so he has a very strong pasuk that seems like even when you're traveling, it's called bread. But what do we do? Oksiv kasher yachnu ken yiso. What does he do with the other pasuk? Says I have to learn it the exact reverse. That what? Just like when it's stationary, when the bread doesn't move, obviously it doesn't become possible. So too when it travels, as long as it's on the table, it's good, it's considered kadosh. Now, what?
It's considered that it didn't come out.
It didn't come out. It never left its place. Its place is on the table. Now, you're right, the walls are removed. You just folded up the whole oil mud. You folded up the climb, you rolled it up. But it's on its place, and that's it. It says in the pasuk that there's a hekesh between chaniya and nesiyah. And just like by chaniya, if you don't move the bread, it's considered Kaddish. So too when you're traveling, as long as you don't take the bread off the shelf, it's as if it's Kaddish. Now, Viduch Nami Hoksiv, what is okay, so he has a hekesh from Chaniya and Yitzia. But what about the really strong pasuk, Hoksiv Lechem Atomid Olaviyah, that when you travel, it's lechem. The Gemara says checkmate. There's no answer to it.
What does it mean?
He's right.
It's lechem.
It's lechem and it's kaddish. It's kaddish. What do you mean it's lechem?
It's good.
Yeah.
Even when traveling, it's lechem.
So therefore, there's really no answer to this pasuk, and we're gonna have to figure out what we meant that there's a machlekes here. Elok Yosef Rav Dimi Omar b'mesuder kulei amalei pligi. When it's on the table, the Torah says mufurish v'lechem atamid olav has the halacha of bread. Elo ki pligi b'mesulak.
Comes off the table.
The whole machlokes is when it's off the table. Mandoma, just as a side note, according in the Havamina that it's still on the table, but it's possible when you move. So why is it on the table? According to the Manda Omer, that when you move, you travel in the desert, the bread is possible, but it's still on the table. Olaviyah.
You take it off and carry separately. It's not possible.
But it says it should be on the table. It says it should be on the table. He's asking as a positive. It says it should be on the table. In the Havamina, all in the Havamina. It says v'lechem tamid olav, but it's possible because he traveled. So what is it doing on the table?
Well, even though it's on the table, but it went out.
You don't take it off.
That's why it's possible. But why should it stay on the table? So throw it in the garbage. The Torah says leave it on the table. What?
You don't remove it, they're dying.
Not that you don't have to. The Torah says you should leave it there. Leave it. What good does it do? Because they say that one of the things they say is that there's nowhere to burn it. Because in the midbar there's no place to burn it. So it had to stay on the table.
Until they got until
the next one. Right, exactly. Says the Gemara, Man do'amar nifsal, d'chsiv kashiyachnu. Where am I? Okay, so there's machlokes.
What is the machlokes?
The machlokes now is only when they remove the bread. When the bread is in the table, then it's likula alma, it remains kadosh even though there's no oil mayed. The machlokes is they remove the bread beforehand. Remains Kaddish. No, that I was talking about in the Havamina, just in the Havamina. But now we said there's a pasuk. Everybody agrees that it's considered Kaddish. Now there's no machlokes if the bread is in the shulchan that it remains Kaddish. Keep ligi b'mesulak. Only when we remove the bread beforehand, whether or not it becomes possible. So here's the machlokes. The same psukim. Now, this bread came out of the oil mayed, so therefore it is possible. But according to the other man domer, it's not possible even if you removed it from the shulchan. The oil mayed. The oil mayed is traveling. It's not really oil mayed. I just folded it up. Ava pisha nosa oil mayedu. This machne leviyah, where the oil mayed is, has a Kedusha as if it's the oil made. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said travel. So I fold everything up, I put it into my moving truck, and I start going. So I don't have an oil made. But the Torah says that the Machna Leviyah, where the oil made was, continues to have Kedusha to the point that even if I remove the bread from the table, it's still within inside the oil made as I travel. Because the Machna Leviyah is the oil made now.
Generally, you moved the table from the Mishnah.
What?
You took the bread off?
I took the bread off. But I took it off, put it in a box, away from the shulchan. If it's on the shulchan, the kuli alma, even though the oil moed is moving, it's considered kadosh. It's part of the shulchan. It never loses kedusha. But once I take it out of the shelf of the shulchan and I fold it up the oil moed, now I have a machlokes. One man holds that the kedusha of the oil moed still remains because the Torah says, look, v'nosa oil moed. The oil moed is traveling, but the oil moed is not traveling. It's in a box. It's not oil moed anymore. Right. You see from this that the Torah considers it oil moed, even though it's not oil moed. This is referring to the Machna Leviyah is always oil moed throughout all the travels. And Memela, if I remove the bread from the shulchan and it's within the Machna Leviyah, so it never went out.
Why should I remove from the shulchan then?
Not why should you? If you did. If you did.
Why did you just say leave it on the...
You should leave it on the...
Just leave it on the Shabbos.
Because the Gemara was saying before, so now you have to Shabbos, there's a change of...
Right, you have to...
Yeah.
So you're doing that, we're switching.
I'm just saying, you don't have to say this. So,
It's good. Right, so it's kosher. It's kosher, that's what it comes out.
he says that Rashi brings that there was a reason why they took it off. It was Shabbos, they took it off. But I'm saying even... Lo mishaneh, we're asking a theoretical question. If somebody, if it fell off, there was an earthquake, it fell off the table, does it become possible lino? The answer is the machlokes. B'yotzeh, sorry.
But why is it? It's right there in the place of the oil moed.
But there is no oil made.
No, but we said
guess
that's
what?
a special
What
thing.
makes
When
it oil
travels,
moed?
It's still considered oil moed.
That's according to this man, the
Right,
Omar.
so according to this man, if it
It's-
came off the table, it shouldn't be a problem.
That's right. That's exactly what the Gemara is saying. According to this man, the Omar, it's not a problem. According to the other man, no. Kasher yachnu ken yisou tells us there's a problem.
It tells you that
How long
what?
do they have to eat this?
One day.
So that means if they took it off on Shabbos,
Gotta eat it,
they
Shabbos.
still have that night.
Yeah.
So how do they take it off when they start traveling? They don't travel on Shabbos.
How did they take it off? So look at Rashi.
No, they took it
He
off.
says that they took it off on Shabbos.
Right, so they're traveling that day.
It just means they didn't know. It just means they didn't put another bread on. No, they didn't put another set on.
You're asking how is it shaykh that there was a? That's why my shot is better. That it just came off in the middle of the week. Where do you see this in Rashi? I didn't see it in Rashi. Oh, Shita brings it. Okay, fine.
On Yom Kippur, and they couldn't actually eat it on Yom Kippur.
Mendy.
So they couldn't eat it that day, so they had to wait. till-
All right. Zog the Gemara. V'idach nami eksiv kashayachnu ken yisou.
Therefore, this teaches
So
us-
now it should be nifsal b'yotzei, like the other man. He's learning v'nasa oil that it's considered oil moed, but what does he do with the kashayachnu ken yisou? Lidach gisa is learning the opposite. We had this basically it's the whole sugi that we had before, but talking about that the bread came off the table because if it's on the table, kula alma, it's okay. Lidach gisa ma b'chani yasoi. He learns in the pasuk ma b'chani yasoi gili ma b'gili. So just like when it's stationary. If he doesn't remove the bread, it doesn't become possible. As long as you don't take it out of Machna Leviyah, that is the point. The point there is not the oil moed. The point is Machna Leviyah. Once, if you don't take it out of Machna Leviyah, it doesn't become possible. Right. Now let's go to the other man. He's learning from Kasher Yachna Ken Yisou. It seems like as long as they're traveling, it has a halach of oil moed. Says the Gemara, Ahu.
And therefore what?
So it should not be possible. Yotzei,
Like you said.
like the other mandama. You love this other mandama. V'nasa oil moed. That's your mandama. I get it. But there's another mandama that says kasher yachnu ken yisou.
So now we're
That
asking on that.
if you learn kasher yachnu ken yisou, but what do you do with the pasuk v'nasa oil moed? It seems like it's good oil moed. Says the Gemara, Ahu lidgolem hudasa. It's coming for this. I can't print off ArtScroll anymore until I get a mafurish letter from them. Working on it. Sent them an email. No, Mr. Kornbluth pointed out. It says even for shiurim, even for this, you're not allowed.
They're not entitled to say that.
What?
They're not entitled to say that.
Why not?
Halacha doesn't give them that. Why, they spend.
I don't want to take them up.
Anyways,
Anyways, this is.
Go on.
Yeah, I found someone. I'm strictly related.
Way too-
Anyways, as you see, these white things, I don't know if you can see, are little tents. This is the machna, and they had their flags.
That's how tall the flags were?
Yes. This is how tall is this?
I don't know, those tents are tiny. Either the tents are tiny or the flags are really
It's not
big.
active, it's not active.
Fine.
Alright,
Anyways, this is no, it's not. Doram, Tzafa, and Ma'ariv, Mizrach. This is how it was, and here in the center you have the Oyel Moed. So all the pasuk is coming to say is how it's laid out, where the Oyel Moed is compared to these flags and these shrubs.
When do you go? Talking about the Matthias. When
Yeah.
do you move? After which building?
Right. How they move?
Where's it located?
Exactly? We're moving now. So where they in comparison to the other shvatim? To which shevet? V'chulu. This is gonna have to go soon. Fine. What? There's three.
But there were few on the sides, right?
It goes like this. There's three over here. It's really machna. It's like 3, 3, 3, 3, and okay.
so what is
So this pasuk, v'nosa oyel moed, the oyel moed is traveling. Not that it remains the oyel moed. It's talking about the nasiya, where it's placed. Where's the oyel moed placed during the nasiya?
When the oil might goes the Nasiya, it still stays in the same way.
Exactly. It moves in the same.
And nothing to do with what, and nothing to do with...
Not saying that it has dushas oyel moed.
Moed, just flags.
When it moved, everybody was
V'idach.
stuck.
So that's a very good point. You have to know how they travel, how the flags are situated. So he says, "Mimachna alavim v'soich hamachnos." The continuation of the pasuk tells us this yisoid, that it's mimachna alavim within the camp. Meisvei. Question: B'shas siluk masois. Rashi says when they roll up the paroichas, so they're moving. They're starting to move the oil moed. Kachim nifsalim b'yotzei. So the kachim that are inside the oil moed become all of a sudden exposed to the midbar. They're not in the oil moed anymore. They remove the walls, so they are puzzled, as if they went outside of the oil moed. Over here, you don't have to go outside of the oil moed. The oil moed moved away from them, so they are yotzei. However, at the same time, zavim umitzaroim mishtalchim chutz l'mchitzazim. There is a certain kedusha.
The Kedusha still stays.
There's a kedusha of the machnas. So over here, you see this inner one is called machna shchina. Then around that you have the machna leviyah, and around that you have the machna Yisrael. A mitzayra cannot be anywhere.
It's totally out.
He has to be below the paper, outside here. In the Menachos Levi, you can't have a zav. Right over here. This is where they hang out in these little guys, these little tents. The Machna Levi cannot have a zav. The zav has to move down over here. Now we just said that there is no Machna Shechina. This is gone. Even though this is gone, the green is gone, but these camps remain. If you remember, we had in Zvachim a similar chart. No, I looked for it and then I found that we're not talking about the same thing. Over there we're talking about Yerushalayim. We're talking about Eretz Yisrael. It's the same concept. You have the Ezra Shechina, the Harabayis, and Yerushalayim. And then we were discussing over there that in the Leviyah, it's mutter for a mace to be there, and the Yisrael, it's mutter l'zav. It's the same concept. The heter for zav, we're also talking about, we're going to be talking about a mace in a second, in this little map. Fine. Says the Gemara, "My love, afilu lechem aponim," that if this green doesn't exist anymore, the machna shchina doesn't exist, so then it doesn't exist even for the lechem aponim. So if the lechem aponim is inside even the shulchan, it should become possible b'yotzei.
Only going to the other pasuk. So right?
No, we're talking about. We're done now for a second.
Should lost the other way.
Says the Gemara, loy bar milechem. All the kachim that are there, you have any sort of carbon that becomes possible yotzei, but not the lechem aponim. As the Gemara manavshach. How does it make any sense? Oil moed, if you're going to consider the inside oil moed, the green oil moed, dafku, I feel kachim nami, kachim should not become possible. It's oil moed there, it's not oil moed lav dafku. If you hold that it's not considered oil moed, I feel lachem upon him nami should become possible. Says the Gemara, Elo kyoser Ravin Omar, Marom ab mesudor, Marom ab mesulok. So none of these psukim, everything that we learned until now, that oil moed has kedusha and this doesn't have kedusha, and all these things that you liked before, we're getting rid of all of that. There's no machlokes now. That's it. We're done. There is no machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi. At the end of the day, there's just one said that the lechem aponim remains kadosh because it's still on the shulchan, and when the other one said that the lechem aponim is puzzle is because it was removed from the shulchan. There's no more machlokes whether or not it has halacha of oil moed or not oil moed.
So they would carry it through the desert with the bread still on
Exactly. When the bread was still on the shulchan, and they carried it through the desert, the bread still had kedusha. Once you remove it, it no longer has kedusha. Amar Abaya, Shma mino, I could figure out from this, yesh siluk masois balaylo, that we start traveling at night. The soka daitoch ain't siluk masois balaylo, because if you can't travel at night, emas midlay. When do we take down the paroiches? Litzafro, if you take it down only in the morning, my ear yimishum yoytze. Why are you telling me that there's a problem with these animals? What do we say? You have animals inside the Machne Shechina. Once you remove the walls, you remove these green walls, then all of a sudden they become exposed to the desert and they become yoytze. Why do you have to talk about yoytze? Typically, there's a lebelina, another problem. Forget about the oil moed being moved. You have a problem that there's lina. They were there overnight. What about kachim kalim, let's say? What? But what about kachim kalim that doesn't have but it's still. Oh, that's the teretz. Kachim kalim is not a problem because there's no yoytze. Says the Gemara, Pshita, big chiddush Abaye said, I figured out that you could travel at night. Of course you could travel at night. Guess what? It says in Mefurish in the Torah, L'leches yomim v'layla. It says Mefurish that you're traveling at night. So the Gemara Mao the same Mahani milei yichida okar b'yamama. If you're traveling already, okay. Aval yichida le'okar b'yamama, v'layla le'motzu akri. Kamash malon. I used to travel a lot from Chicago. I used to drive from Chicago to New York, 14 hours. Never did I start at night. You never start at night. You start like a mensch during the day. Now, if it gets nighttime, you just continue until you get there. But who starts at night? To start at night is not gishmak. What? Yeah, but try starting a 14-hour trip at night. Doesn't work. So you started during the day, says the Gemara. And if I get stuck at night, that's what the Torah says. But to start at night, no. That's what Abaye was saying. That's why I had to prove that you could even start at night. Okay. Now, as we mentioned before that a Zav and a Mitzorah get sent out of their camps. The Zav gets sent out of the Machne Leviyah, and the Mitzorah gets sent out of all the Machnes completely. Virimini. I have a contradiction. It says Huglalu aparoiches. Once the paroiches is rolled up, Hutru hazavim u'mitzurayim likanas l'sham. It says Mefurish the opposite. It says that the zav and the mitzorah is allowed to go into Machne Shechina. It's rolled up. A second ago you said if you roll up the Machne Shechina, only the kachim become possible, but the zav and mitzorayim still have to get out of here. Get rid of them. There is some kedusha left in the Machna, not in the Shechina. Over here it says Mefurish. Once the Shechina, Machne Shechina is rolled up, they're allowed to walk wherever they want to walk. Says the Gemara, you're right. Omer Avashi leKashi Horeb Eliezer Horabban. You have to say it's a machloikus. The Sanya. Daf Tzadik Hayim on the base. Reb Eliezer Omer. Now we're talking about Korban Pesach. There's an interesting halacha by Korban Pesach that you can do it betuma. You can bring a Korban Pesach betuma. How does that work? If Roiv Klai Yisrael is Tamei, I bring the Korban Pesach betuma. Yet at the same time, the halacha is that a Zav and Mitzorah even if Klal Yisrael is bringing Bertuma, they cannot bring it. Says Rabbi Lezer Omer, Yochal Dochaku Zovim Mitzuroim V'Nichnasu Lazar B'Pesach Haba Betuma. What if they decided to push their way in against halacha? They're not supposed to be here, but they came in. Do they still get kares like a regular person that has tuma that walks into the Beis Hamikdash would get kares? What's the shaila? Because the whole Klal Yisrael is tamei and they don't get kares. Everything is good. So he made a special chumrah for the Zavim and Tzari. He said he can't come in, but maybe it's more lenient. And guess what it is? It says in the same pasuk, Teruah Zov, and somebody that's tamei, a regular tumah for a mace. Now we just said that there's no tumah for a mace, so memela they also we're lenient with them. B'shosh it may mace mishtachim, zavim mitzurayim mishtachim. So ain't tamei mace mishtachim like in our case of Pesach, ain't zavim mitzurayim mishtachim. So memela says the Gemara, this same svara we would have by us. Once you roll up the paroiches, now there's no tmei mesim anymore. So therefore, there's also no zav according to Rabbi Eliezer. This whole zav and mitzvah doesn't apply. Why? Because there's no tmei meis. Anytime there's no tmei meis, there's no zav. He brings that's a hekesh that he brings. So Mela, when you roll it up,
Why the tmei isn't allowed in?
because first of all, I don't think there's tumas meis b'chlal then, but Rashi says it was rolled up. Once you roll up the paroiches, then there's no shechina, there's no machne shechina. Mela tmei meis can walk in there. Tmei meis can walk in there. Then even I have to find out if there was no tumah b'chlal, because Rashi says it was because they rolled it up. I thought it's more that there's no tumah at all.
But if tumah hood to tzibah, you find it applies to tumah's mace. A roiv am tumah's
Yeah,
mace.
roiv am tumas meis.
Big Levi. It was a big Levi.
Right, Ruvadi Yosef's Levi, and everybody touched the aron. There's another thing that there's no kohanim. But you're talking about the roiv kahal, not the oived, but the people bringing the. Says the Mishnah. What? Says the Mishnah. Achas shtei alechem v'achas lechem aponim. Both the lechem aponim and the shtei alechem lishoson v'arichoson b'chutz. That you don't, meaning even outside, you don't have to knead it outside, but you could make the dough outside. Why? Because the Mishnah holds, the Tanakhama holds, that the kli is not mekadesh. Remember, we had the whole sugya if the sarn is mekadesh, the chatzi sarn is mekadesh. We said everybody holds that liquid, the kli is mekadesh, the inside, but when it comes to salads, we had a machloikas. So he holds that it's not mekadesh, and therefore I could do it outside. V'afiyosam b'fnim, but the baking of the bread has to be inside because it is mekadesh. Ve'enon doiches is a Shabbos, and anything I can do before Shabbos, so memela bake it before Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Omer that there is kedusha in the kli, so therefore kol masayim b'fnim. So I have to make sure there's no problem of yotzei. If there's kedusha in the kli and I bring the flour outside and I start making dough, I possibly be yotzei. So I have to do everything inside. Reb Shimon Omer, Reb Shimon is mechulog on Rabbi Yehuda. He says la'olam haberog loymar. You should be used to say with your mouth, and the Gemara is going to explain what kind of lashon this is. Basically, he had a tradition, and you have to repeat the tradition. Shtei alechem v'lechem aponim ksheres ba'azaru ksheres bebeis pagi. Beis pagi we always said means outside of Yerushalayim, meaning outside of that wall, I could make the dough and I could bake it. I could do everything outside of Yerushalayim. Not a problem. Says the Gemara Gufa Kashi. We have a contradiction. Amris lishosam arichosim b'chutz. You said there's no problem of yotzei on the dough, meaning alma midas yovesh loinis kasha. So the kli doesn't give kedusha to the flour. Then you say v'afiyosam b'fnim. You have to bake it inside. Alma midas yovesh niskacha. So you see the oven does give kedusha. So what's going on here? Does a kli for dry goods give kedusha? It doesn't give kedusha. On the one hand, you say the oven gives kedusha. On the other hand, you say the kli doesn't give kedusha. Merabah, Huksha Adam Kosher, there was a person that was very tough, Kosher Kabarzel, he had a very hard, he had difficulty with this. Umanu Rav Sheshes, says Rashi, Adam Kosher, Chacham Umechuded, L'chadech Halacha Kabarzel. He was very smart and sharp to cut the halacha like metal. And still, Rav Sheshes had a problem with this contradiction. My kushya, says the Gemara, in fact, we ourselves had Rebbe Kiva. We had a few sugyas like this already in this Masechta, where the Mandamar holds that the Isaroin is not Mekadesh, but the oven is Mekadesh. Says the Gemara, you're right. So then it wouldn't be such a Bam Kasha that would put Rav Sheshes away. So it has to be a different Kasha. Elo ki Kasha ho Kasha. V'afi yosem b'fnim. You bake the bread inside Amatana Mekadesh. Ve'ein doichois is a Shabbos. At the same time, you're telling me that it doesn't push off Shabbos. Ipas lebelina. Once something becomes Kadosh, the clock starts ticking. So you're telling me, bake the bread on Friday. Bake the bread on Friday. By the time Shabbos comes around, and already one day went by, and the bread is puzzle. If the bread is good, it's on the table, then it has 7 days. We said the clock starts ticking after 7 days. But you didn't start using the bread yet. You just baked the bread on Friday. The clock starts ticking by the time you bake it. The next morning, before you had a chance to put it onto the shulchan, it's puzzle belina. Amarava. Huksha Kosher, Shu Kosher, Kabarzel, Umanu Rav Sheshes. That was the big kasha that Rav Sheshes had. Rav Ashi, my kushya. Rav Ashi comes along and says, I don't understand the kasha. Dilma, my befnim, b'makom's reason. Very interesting. Maybe when he says befnim, he doesn't refer to the oil moyed. He's referring to a place where the kohanim congregate in their homes, in their places, wherever they live. Meaning that they should make the bread in the Kohen's house, let's say. Why? Because what?
Only the dough, though.
Yeah.
Bake it.
The baking.
The baking.
The baking we have to
Why? Says Rashi, b'mokim's reason, v'loy b'azar mamish. It doesn't refer inside the azar. It's talking about in the building, the house of the tent of the Kohen. Ela b'chutz yifu kohanim zrizim shaloi yachmitz. They have to be zars. They have to be very careful that it shouldn't become chametz. As the Noidi Behuda, we learned the lechem aponim has to be chametz. The opposite. Lechem aponim is chametz.
Maybe it only becomes Kodesh once it becomes Kodesh.
So I don't know. In Rashi, it's going to be hard to explain. The Sfas Emes says, yeah, it means they have to be zaras to make sure that it becomes chametz. That's not what Rashi says. Shelo yachmetz.
Outside the make sure it doesn't become.
What?
The matzahs which are marked common.
Lechem aponim was not chametz.
It is. The matzahs which are marked common.
Maybe the Shtei Alechem he has it on. Yeah, what?
The matzahs which are marked chametz are not necessarily chametz
You mean in our days?
nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody once had a shaila that they mixed up and they used common matzahs. They went into it and they found that they got a head.
They weren't zaras. They weren't zaras to make it chametz.
No, the reason is they're using the same machines the whole year round. And
So really, it's not chametz.
Yeah, so it's saying.
But they don't want to be makbid and write on it.
It's not easy to make chametz. If you got, you have to do it especially to make.
No, one of them was chametz. Shtei Alechem. Shtei Alechem was chametz. Okay. Sorry, erase, scratch, reverse the tape. Shtei Alechem has to be chametz. So Rashi's talking about maybe lechem aponim. So I don't know. So what's the cash? Okay.
That's what he's going to show you when you go to November 26th, that he's not able to do the dough folded over as not chametz.
How do you know he's going to show us?
I got a preview. Somebody told me that he's not able to. He's able to do everything except.
Tell us real quickly, what is this program? What are we doing? Everybody's invited to come watch
What is this?
on November 26th at 7 o'clock at night.
And then
There's a demonstration of
the breads of the
Menachos and the breads of the Beis Hamikdash. Where's this? In Yerushalayim?
No. It's in the it's in the Shomron. It's on, I gave you the website.
It's on the Shomron. We have to go to Shomron. It's Kedai. It's chaval we didn't have it before Menachos. That's all I'm saying.
It's a 3-hour presentation. He makes all the breads of the Beis Hamikdash with you, and you get to take them home. You get to eat them, and it's supposed to be made. What? No, we're not going to.
Got it. Everybody's invited. How much? What's the cost?
There's also a cost there. Depends on how many people sign up on this side.
Okay. Bekitzer, per bread, it's like $55 per bread.
Yeah.
Says the Gemara. V'hoder Ravashi Barusahi. Remember this lashon? We had it somewhere else in this Masechta. What?
Bring your appropriate.
I also thought it's always a Ravashi. I looked it up, and only in this Masechta one time is Ravashi, and it wasn't Ravashi. No, it was only one time the whole shot. I thought it was also interesting because Ravashi is the one that wrote this. I guess somebody else wrote it after him. Like later I am a joke. What I'm saying is like it doesn't. Okay, but somebody else wrote it. L'chayra. V'hoder Ravashi Barusahi, because it's not such a nice lashon. What? Your Ravina wrote this part. Very good. Manavshach. What's going on here? Why are you differentiating between baking and making the dough? That's what you asked before, right? He's not looking. Okay, give him a tap. That's his kasha. That's what you asked, basically. You asked this kasha. You're asking, is it the baking, not baking? What's the difference? If you need somebody to be careful with chametz or matzah, whatever it is, then it should be through the whole process, even the dough. It's a mistake or it's a joke. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Kol Masayim Bifnim. There's machlokes in the Mishnah between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. So Rabbi Yehuda says everything became kaddish in the kli, and therefore everything had to be inside. Rabbi Shimon goes around and says you have to be used to saying that there's no kedusha, and even the ovens. He's the most makel. Even baking it could be done outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Omer Bavo Bar Kahana V'Shnei Mikra Echad Darshu. The whole machlokes is based on the same exact words, on the words. How do you read the words? It says by David HaMelech when he's running away, so he got into Noivir Kehanim. He's extremely hungry. As the Gemara is going to say, he had bulmus, he had a disease, and he needed to eat. He says, "Give me food right now." And they told him, we have this bread called lechem apanim. He's not a kohen, he's really not allowed to eat it. So he tells them, V'hu, this bread, derech choil, you did it like the weekdays, af ki hayoim yigdash bakeli. Even though that today you did it b'kedusha. So Rabbi Yehuda Savar, b'choil ashkechinu, he came there on a weekday, the ka'afulei. He was there on a weekday and he found them baking it on Friday. So he told them, you're baking it on a weekday. What are you going to do? You're going to have a problem with lina. So Rabbi Yehuda holds that the kli, that the tanner, you see mefurish, the oven, David HaMelech is telling them the oven makes it kaddish. Because if the oven didn't make it kaddish, then the clock doesn't start ticking. From the fact that David HaMelech says, hey, tomorrow this is going to be lina, that means he holds that the oven creates kedusha.
By definition, you could only bake it on Shabbos.
And therefore, you could only bake it on Shabbos. Why are you baking it on the weekday? That was his taina. Only if the oven creates kedusha. If the oven doesn't create kedusha, so you could bake it on Erev Shabbos. Reb Shimon Savar b'Shabbos hashkichinu ka'avulei. It happened. This whole story happened on Shabbos. They were baking it on Shabbos. Omer lehu loy derech chol b'yisrael mebdei. You don't have to bake it on Shabbos. Why are you being mechal Shabbos for this bread? Midi taner mekadesh, shulchanu mekadesh. He said the opposite. Taner has no kedusha. So Reb Shimon came out with a shita that I could bake it outside of the Beis Hamikdash, and just later on put it on the table, and then the lechem apanim gets a kedusha from the table.
He's not saying it's what they saw when you put it in the cake. Later on when you put it on the shulchan, that's when it becomes.
Yeah, later on you put it on the shulchan. How's it possible that David HaMelech found them while they were baking? It says that the breads were already baked and he gave them to eat. Ella, my derech chol de kamarlu, hachi kamarlei. Leke lechem ki im lechem aponim amusarim lefnei Hashem. There's no other bread besides this. Amalu, lo mebaya hai the kivin the novaglei mila derech cholu. So David HaMelech told him, listen, I don't need this bread that you took off the table. The bread that you took off the table is good for a kohen to eat. Once a kohen can eat it, there's no me'ilah. Me'ilah, using something from the Beis HaMikdash, is only when a human can't eat it. But once it was given to the kohen, there's no me'ilah in it. So he says, I don't need this bread that has no me'ilah. I could go up a step. I could take bread that's really kodesh. Give me any bread. Why? Because Mesukanu, says Rashi, had bulmos. And if he has bulmos, you could feed him even, it's pikuach nefesh. Give him any bread. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, big Gemara pligi. This whole machlokes is between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, not in the pasuk of David HaMelech, but rather what the tradition was. They can nami diktani, and I'll prove it to you from Rabbi Shimon himself. Rabbi Shimon oimer loylam havirog aloyim shtei alechem v'lechem apanim ksheris ba'azaru ksheris ha'beis pagi shmamina. What is that? What kind of lashon is this? You should always be used to say. Always used to say means repeat the tradition. I don't have a pasuk to prove it. All I know is this is what I got from my Rebbe. So therefore, repeat it and give it over to the next generation. Have a great day. We'll see you in the bakery November 26th. Off, Mendy, you know how to do off? Without erasing. End.
What you were saying that
Let me see. Before we erase it.
Ashra put a lot of efforts and
Yeah, you pay a lot of money to do something.